So it's time for a quick update. What have I done since seeing you last? It's only been a day, but I managed to start putting a lot of the components back together and also kind of working out the wiring harness. I'm not following a diagram. I probably should, but everything seems to just be fitting in place, and it's kind of like Lego, I guess. Wiring harness is back through. Got all these plugs kind of where they need to go. Again, I'm just following the shape of the previous wires where they sit naturally, and it seems to be working out pretty well. Got the distributor back in. I need to change the spark plugs. I haven't done that yet. I haven't made a block off plate yet for the fuel pump. I've got the electronic fuel pump mounted up here onto the brake booster. Fuel filters in place there. That does need to be replaced. I've got the coil. Pretty sure I got that on the right side. Positive, negative, yada yada yada. Running up to the Dizzy. Fans back on. I ended up taking this apart and giving it a really good cleanup, and it's actually pretty decent on the inside, so I've put some more gasket goo back on and put it back into place. I'm going to use that. I changed the hose on here because the other one was broken. A few other wires that we're sorting out. The starter motor, positive cable runs down to the starter motor. Basically, it's just a big mess right now. This is how the carburetor was set up when I received the car. This is the choke. That's the throttle. Hopefully it'll work that way. If not, we're gonna have to fine tune the daylights out of it. There's a couple little plugs here that I haven't put back on top yet, like the breather hose for the brake booster and all this other kind of stuff, but we're getting there. I'm far from starting it yet, but I'm getting there. So I'm just really going to tidy up some of these wires. I'm going to rewrap a lot of these exposed wires with some nice felt harness tape. But yeah, this has been a day of messy hands and some profanities getting this all back together. So far so good though. I'm on track and nothing's really giving me too much of a headache. So right now I'm just in the process of cleaning up the battery plate to put that back in. We're going to hit that with some rust converter, hit that with a wire brush on the drill, get rid of all this flaky crap, spray that up nicely and put it back in. What a pain in the rear end, but I love it. So it's a good thing that I'm rewrapping this harness. I just took the plastic coating off. Here it is. I will be putting this back on after I give it a clean up, but underneath that was this just dirty, muddy, cruddy wiring harness. So I'll give this a clean up and I'll wrap it thoroughly with the soft felt Tessa tape. Then I'll put that back on. This runs down the bottom of the radiator support. So far, I've only done that much, but it's looking nicer already. We'll just keep on keeping on. I love this Tessa tape. It's got a really soft touch to it, and it's not sticky like, you know, plumber's tape or duct tape is. Cleaned up the pipe, or conduit, or whatever the heck that's called, and all this is now wrapped. So no more sticky, gross, disgusting wire harness. We'll put this in place and continue on. Quick recap. Window wiper motor is on. Intake manifold and exhaust manifold is on with new gaskets. This fuel line needs to be replaced because this is not fuel line, but that is from the electronic fuel pump. Fuel filter is on, distributor is back on, the oil filter chamber is on. I just put the old oil filter on top because I don't have a new one right now. The coil is installed, running to the Dizzy. Fan on the front. The alternator is plugged in. Not bolted up yet because I don't have the fan belt. The starter motor is hooked up. I have the positive wire ready for the battery tray, which is in the sun drying right now. Put some paint on it. The harness is somewhat all neat and tidy. Well, much more neat and tidy than what it was previously. I still have to find out where a few of these things go, just because I'm not 100% sure. I don't even know if these were plugged into anything when I got the car. Oh, that one goes there. That's for sure. And this one goes here. So the rest of them, I don't know where they go. We'll work that out. No rush. If you rush wiring, well, you blow something up, don't you? So there we go. It's starting to look like a real engine bay again. Alright, so the battery tray and battery are in, but I got one issue. The battery I bought seems to be too tall. And that there could be a problem with the hood. So it seems like it's sticking up too high, which is a bit of a pain in the butt. Just thinking about this, the only reason that I need to buy a new battery is because this bracket is too high. Now I necessarily don't need to keep that bracket. This height here is important. Obviously, I don't think these are going to intrude with anything, but if so, I can just cut them shorter. But I can make a new plate that goes across this battery using these old clampy bits, so I don't have to buy a new battery. I think I might just fabricate up a new bracket to hold the battery on top. It's not going to be too hard. Alright, well there we go, that takes care of that problem. Now if for some reason these studs are too tall and they will hit the bonnet, we'll work it out later when I put the bonnet on. It's easy for me just to grind that off maybe a centimetre or two. But that there is going to take care of the battery bracket. That's a 2mm thick piece of steel, so it's going to be strong enough to hold that in place. What's next is the radiator. Now I got given this one with the car when I bought it, and it is an aluminium radiator. It's brand spanking new, but it's not for this car, which sucks. The pipe outlets are in the wrong position, and also it doesn't fit the bracket that is here on this radiator support, so I can't use it unless I want to do a lot of modding and a lot of stuffing around. And I did that with the Celica, and it worked, but it was a lot of work. Also, I want to use the shroud that goes around the radiator to force air into this fan here. So as the fan sucks air, this shroud that goes in front of the radiator helps pull it through the actual radiator and cool more efficiently. It's not the end of the world because I do have the original radiator here. It's seen better days, but I've had it laying around since I've had the car, and I believe it doesn't leak. I might be wrong, but it's worth cleaning this up and giving it a go. Here is the shroud, the two pieces that sit on the radiator like so, like I was talking about, to suck the air through it. It also comes with the correct hoses. So all this stuff I can use, where if I were to use the new radiator, everything would have to be changed. If there is an issue with it, I could even take it down to the radiator shop that I use in Burley and get them to test it for me and repair it if needed. So I'm going to get this cleaned up. We're going to wash it out and get rid of all the junk from the inside. Try and get rid of the corrosion on here. I'm not sure what I'm going to use, but I don't know. I'll Google it. Tidy up the shrouds and put it back in the car. So let's get at it. Alright, so that's been washed out, well, rinsed out anyway. It's not perfectly washed. I might have to run like a radiator cleaner through it or some kind of detergents to help loosen any more junk that's in there. I don't want to go putting vinegar or acid in there. I don't want to destroy any of the internals. So I'll just wait till the car's running and give it a really good radiator flush. So I'm just going to scour up the rest of the surface and clean up any kind of bits of junky surface rust that may be on it, or chipped paint, and just give it a bit of a tidy up because it just looks a bit turd. I'll do that with these as well, just to make them look presentable. Clean up the hoses a bit because they'll still be absolutely fine to use, I believe. I hope. If not, we'll buy new ones. I hope it works because I don't want to go forking out for a new radiator. It's going to be a pain in the butt. Alright, so any of the scaly surface rust that was on that has now been taken care of. I'm going to give it a good hit with wax and grease remover, put some etch primer on it, and then I'm going to spray it in some black spray paint. So I had an idea. I might use my colour. Where is it? Oh, it's on the ground. It's not very good spot for it. I might spray this with the same colour I did the valve cover, because that come up really, really nice. And that might actually look good if I've got this the same colour as that. I think that might be a go. It's not going to be super smooth and the finish might not be perfect, but at least the colour will be correct. So I think I'm going to do that. Yeah, let's do it. Why not? What's the worst that I do? Respray it black? Yeah, I think that's the way to go. That way it'll match the colour of the valve, and you know, it'll have some form of theme inside the engine bay. Not that it's necessary, but I think it looks better. So that's come up all right. Black on the underside, 1J3 on top. We'll let this dry good and proper before we put one coat of clear. And then I've got to do the other one. Alright, so that first panel that I just finished spraying is out in the sun drying quite nicely. Now that was the lower half of the radiator shroud, so this is the top bit, and I decided, the bottom's already been sprayed black, but I decided to actually clean up the top a little bit nicer than the bottom, because this is what you're actually going to, see. So I got the strip disc, which I absolutely love. Got rid of all the paint, all the rust, and that's now ready for etch primer. This should have a better finish than that first one we sprayed. So let's hit it with some wax and grease remover. Alright, same deal. This one's come out a lot nicer because I did take it all the way back to steel. A couple of dings in here, which I really don't care about. But the colour's going to come up really nice and it'll match that valve colour. So I'll go stick this one in the sun to dry for another half hour. And yeah, then we'll continue on with the actual main purpose of this video is the radiator. Alright, time to clean it up. I'm not actually going to touch any of this core because I think it's too old and brittle to actually start stuffing around with. So it's just going to stay as is for now. At least until I know if it leaks or not. But I will clean up all these edges and maybe give them a fresh coat of black spray just so they look a bit more presentable. So I'm just going to hit it with a scour pad and some WD just to, I don't know, loosen it up and make it look pretty again. Alright, that is cleaned up and scruffed up with the scouring pad. This one is going to get metal cover epoxy gloss black. I've used it on a few components on the car and it works really well. It takes a lot longer to dry. This won't be touched until tomorrow, but the paint seems to really bond on to the surface, and it's absolutely fine if you spray over direct metal, as long as you've wax and grease removed it first, which I just did. So I'm just going to tape up some of these holes just to make sure I don't get any spray in there. Not that it'll really matter too much, but give it a quick touch up. I'm not going to spray over this, it can stay like that. So let's give it a quick coat in some metal cover. Alright, and that's where it's going to stay, as long as it doesn't fall over, which it shouldn't, as long as no one comes here and knocks it, all night. We'll let this dry, we'll get all these pieces back together and start putting them in the car tomorrow. I will see you in a jiffy. This is going to come up alright actually, hopefully it doesn't leak, else, you know, this will be a waste. We'll see. And you know what really sucks? Is getting piece of the wire wheel stuck in your shoe and then it going through into your toe. That's not fun. So we are back and it is the next day and this is dried very, very nicely. That's a nice strong coating of enamel on there now. And where am I at with these covers? So they've also dried up super nice. Nice and metallic. So next step is putting them on. So we've got some nice new bolts here. Again, it's from the kit of multiple Japanese assorted bolts. You get like 6mm, 8mm, whatever mil, basically all the generic early Toyota size bolts and nuts. You can get them off eBay for however much, you'll have to search that. Anyways, we have to put the bolts in from this side so it bolts onto the frame of the radiator. Easy peasy. That was easy. Next is the shroud. There's 4 bolts on the radiator that hold the shroud on. Pretty cool. So now that all the bolts are loosely put in place, it's all been put together. Now let's tighten them up. It's coming out nicely. I'm very happy with it. So let's get these radiator hoses on. Before I put the radiator hose on, actually I'll put the bottom one on, but I don't know if this car, surely it has a thermostat, right? And it must be under this. So I'm going to quickly pop this off and have a look. I might be wrong, but I'd like to check the thermostat before, going too much further, because I might need a new one. So I'll quickly pop this off and have a look. Now, good thing I checked this, because someone's taken the thermostat apart. Let me pull this out of here. That is not a thermostat. That's the top of a thermostat. It's a little bit gungy in there too. I'll clean that out a little bit before I put it back together. That is because of a failed thermostat that somebody's replaced. We need a new thermostat, people. All right, I just gave that a quick tidy up, got rid of the excess goop that was on the side of that. And they're called Cheaper Auto Spares. And they have 3 of the thermostats for this engine in stock. So I'll rock down there and pick one up, I don't know, over the next few days. So that's on the things to do list. For now, I'll slap it back together just so it's got somewhere to live. And I must remember to get that before I put any water in this. But that is a good reason why I wanted to check that, because who knew that was missing? You can run the car without a thermostat. It just means that it's not going to get up to temperature as fast. And on top of that, if it is winter or a very cold area, the engine may run under temp, and that is a problem. So I will put the thermostat back in this just so that it is operating correctly. It's a little bit wonky, so I'm just going to trim them down a bit. It also is going to get rid of this squished area on the old hose, so it'll give me some new rubber to work with, and that won't be such a kinked, area there. So I'll quickly take this off and chop it down a bit. So much tidier and more presentable. Like I said initially, I hope the radiator doesn't leak. There's only one way to find out for me anyway, and that's to get the new thermostat in there and actually get the car running and let it warm up. May as well put the cap back on. Might get a new cap as well, because this thing looks a bit shagged, doesn't it? Well, it'll do for now. Look at that, looks awesome. Matching the valve cover, so much more presentable. There you go. Tidying up the radiator. Awesome.